Let's start with the elephant in the room. Everyone is talking about the coronavirus, and still many people do not know why it's necessary to take essential precautions. Many people experience some sort of fatigue. After the topic came up, people thought there would be a rapid improvement in cases and spread. But that's not how viruses work. Therefore, many people start breaking the rules, or even worse, are organizing big rallies against governmental actions. Just to be clear, I think many decisions by the authorities were right, but there were also some questionable ones. However, it's important to understand why the government is acting in the way it does. So let's take a look at some of the most common precautions and why they help. My name is Paul, I'm a biochemistry major. Welcome to my channel. No matter where you live, we're all in this together. Sure, some places were hit worse than others, but I think there's no one out there not living restrictively. Or are there? To understand the precautions we are taking, we have to understand viruses and their transmission. With SARS coronavirus 2, it has been shown that it's transmitted via both respiratory droplets and contaminated surfaces or objects. That means you can get it when someone sneezes in your direction, or if you touch a surface someone infected touched before. But that also means you could get it from being close around other people. If someone sneezes and you're near this person, the droplets carrying the virus might still be in the air while you are breathing this air in. Therefore, social distancing is crucial in fighting this virus and keeping as many people as possible healthy. This also implies to leave your house only if it's absolutely necessary and not to travel unless you absolutely have to. To make social distancing work, you also have to cover your sneezes and coughs. If you do so, many of the potential virus cells will end up in the crook of your arm and not in the air when they could potentially infect dozens of people. Also, not touching any mucous membranes will help you to stay safe. This is because of the contaminated surface part. If the virus is on your hands and you touch your face, you are far more likely to get infected, because you basically brought the virus to the tissue where it can most easily get into your body. Also, because of the spread via surfaces, it's important to wash your hands frequently. If you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds using a suitable technique, you will ensure that the virus envelope gets destroyed and therefore the virus can no longer infect you. Let's look at the viruses themselves. First of all, viruses aren't living beings. Their genome can be quite different, but we are talking about the coronavirus here, so we are talking about an RNA-based virus. Higher organisms like humans use RNA to get information from the DNA and present it to the ribosome. The ribosome basically is a factory that produces proteins, and proteins are necessary for everything our body does. Since viruses aren't alive, they need to find another way to get themselves replicated. Therefore, they sneak their own genome into our cells. In our cells, the ribosomes read the code and build proteins based on that. But the ribosome can't really tell if it is reading human RNA or viral RNA. Thus, the viruses get replicated very often and leave the cell at some point. There are several ways of doing this. Some viruses induce lysis, which means the cell ruptures and dies. The SARS coronavirus 2 leaves the cell via exocytosis. After they left the cell, the virus cells are able to infect other cells. But viruses can't sneak into any cell. Every virus is highly specific for one type, or at least very few types of cells, like a thief who chooses his target very carefully. Most of the cells SARS coronavirus 2 likes are type 2 pneumocytes. Pneumo means lung and cyte means cell, which are mostly found in our lungs. So the virus spreads in the pulmonary alveoli and causes all the common symptoms. Our body's immune response tries to eliminate the virus and can be very successful at that. For example, the fever many patients experience is a reaction of the body to the virus. Since our immune system is so important in fighting off infections, it's clear that those who are immunocompromised, meaning their immune system isn't quite on its game, mainly due to disease or medication, are at a much higher risk. That means cancer patients due to the disease and possible chemo and radiation therapy, patients with immunodeficiencies, and patients on immunosuppressing medication, for example after an organ transplant. Also, people with impaired function of organs COVID-19 is likely to infect are part of the high-risk group. This entails diabetes, lung disease, heart disease, and liver disease. In elderly people, we see a combination of both. With progressing age, the immune system weakens and tissues aren't as effective as they used to be. So we have to take precautions to protect these people, but there's more. Not only can anyone get infected, but you could be infected without even knowing it. Here the masks come into play. Generally, there are 3 types of masks people are wearing right now. Surgical masks, KN95, FFP2, FFP3, N95 masks, and homemade ones. So which mask does what? Both surgical masks and homemade ones protect others from catching the virus from you, but they won't protect you from catching the virus. KN95, FFP2, FFP3, N95 masks have shown they can protect the carrier from getting infected if worn properly. So why is everybody talking about homemade masks if they don't protect you? As we discussed earlier in this video, the virus mainly affects your lung cells. This process of infecting so many cells that we feel symptoms can take several days, 6 days per average. During these 6 days, which can be up to 14 days, you can spread the virus to other people without even knowing it. Therefore, wearing masks in public is fundamental and saves lives. Just one short information, if you buy one of these masks, this is a KN95 mask, please do not wash them. If you made yourself a mask, you can wash them, and it's important to wash them to kill off the viruses. But those N95, KN95 masks are not made to be washed. In fact, the filtration system in the mask can be impaired if you wash it. Basically, none of what I told you here is new, but I still see many people who either don't implement protective measures properly or do not implement them at all out of defiance. Overcoming this pandemic will be an enormous task and will take some time. Virologists believe that the only way to end this pandemic with a minimum number of deaths is a vaccine, which will probably not be available before 2021. So we need to get used to protective measures to stay healthy and sane. The next video will deal with this very issue. Thanks for watching. Please tell me in the comments what you think about the current situation and like the video if it helped you to get an overview again. See you in the next video, and until, stay safe.